Dukes Nation, this is your home for all things Duquesne University athletics, whether it's basketball or football or soccer or lacrosse or volleyball, track and field, golf, swimming, you name it, everything in between. If it's happening at UPMC Cooper Fieldhouse, Arthur J. Rooney Athletic Field, or anywhere our Dukes play, you're going to hear about it here. Hello and welcome, Dukes fans. You are looking at co-producer Rudy Longarini inside the worldwide headquarters and studios of All Dukes Sports Talk. I'm Bob Healy III, joined as always by Nick Frost, and we are uniting Dukes Nation for a conversation on all things Duquesne University athletics. So without further ado, let's get to it, and let's go Dukes! Hey Dukes Nation, welcome back to another edition, the first edition of the 25-26 school year for All Dukes Sports Talk. I am Bob Healy III, as usual, joined by Nick Frost and Rudy Longarini out in California. Rudy's going to give it a go this week. I think we may have ironed out some of the technical snafus so we can see and hear from our man out in California this week as well. And also joining us this week for the first episode of the new year, we got a pretty good guest, and it makes perfect sense he's here. It's the run game coordinator, tight ends coach, and director of operations. I mean, are you am I missing anything else? Are you the historian? Are you the water boy? Like, how many different things can you be all at once? Hunter, do I got the titles right?
You hit them all. I've worn a lot of different hats here, but right now those are the only ones I'm carrying as of now. So appreciate you guys having me on.
You got it. Thanks for being here. So Hunter Geisel, right, is
Yes.
the run game coordinator, tight ends coach, and he's currently the football operations guy for Duquesne as well. He follows in the footsteps of, some would say giant footsteps, but if they've seen his feet, they know they're not that big. Coach John Rosado, who's the director of football ops for a very long time, and Riz gives me Hunter's name and contact for this week, says this would be a great guy to talk to following the original backyard brawl, Pitt-Duquesne. I picked up this towel at the city game, some are calling it, or the Battle of the Berg, yesterday, Saturday, August 30th. We're recording this the day after, the night after, as Hunter and his team wrap up game film on the first city game for football since 1939. Hunter, I know you got a busy week and a busy season, and you have, as we said, you're wearing a lot of hats. So we don't want to keep you too long, but obviously we want to get your thoughts on what you learned from the city game, what the team's going to take away from that, and then move into the rest of the season, what you liked out of Isabella and Riddell and maybe of the offensive line and Butts and everything. But you know what? First and foremost, did you get to drink any Bluff 78? I think that's the most important question on everybody's mind.
I wish I was able to test it out, but unfortunately I've not gotten to that point yet. Hopefully here in the next week or so, I'll get to make my way down there and be able to try. But I know Coach Schmidt had a six-pack dropped off to his front door, so I might have to get a review from him tomorrow morning, see how it went.
I don't like the taste of beer. I didn't drink in college, so I probably didn't get through all the natty ice to appreciate like a good beer, right? So, but I can tell you this, despite that, I still had 4 Bluff 78s in the parking lot with my old teammates, so they're good. Nick, how many did you have on game day?
I didn't have any. Not a drinker myself, but a couple of my buddies had quite a few. They said it tasted great. Tasted like beer, but
Yeah.
it was good. Good beer. So
Hey, Rudy, you can hear us. Did you get it? There's no way to get it out in California. You want us to ship you some?
Man, I can't get Yingling's beer, which is, my hometown, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. So, dude, of course we can't get it out here, man. Come on, man. Be real.
I'm going to find a way to send you some. By the way, a lot of people have asked where you can get this. I had to go to the Shop and Save in Castle Shannon to get it, but there's a whole list of purchase locations that the Duquesne website has. So, hats off to the Duquesne SIDs for putting this out there for us. You can go on goduquesne.com and just type Bluff 78. You'll find the list of locations. I had a great time, Hunter, at the game, despite the result, not being what everyone had hoped. I know a lot of people would have hoped it was closer. I loved watching the touchdown. I loved watching us pull within one score. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say, regardless of the outcome, especially as a former player and just as a Duquesne alumnus, like how much I loved seeing us on a big stage like that. Hunter, you went to school at Duquesne. You were one of my students years ago during COVID. So I don't think we've ever met in person. We had to do that.
Only online.
Yeah. But, just as a Duquesne person, I'll ask you and then Nick and Rudy, like the feeling of, man, this is so cool to see the football program for the first time really like be the lead dog for the athletics department, to be like getting all the headlines, because it's normally basketball. Your thoughts just in that part before we get to the game.
Yeah, I think from an alumni perspective, obviously, I went to school here for my undergrad and I got my master's here as well. And a lot of close friends had reached out to me, throughout the week leading up to the game. I think it was cool, obviously to be in your hometown. I'm not from Pittsburgh, but you still had that strong sense of connection that the community and the alumni base was going to show out. And I think, pregame walking and looking around the stadium, there's a lot of red and blue, which was awesome to see. But I think it was a great experience nonetheless. Even, for someone like myself that went to the school where a lot of our kids, a large nucleus of our team is from the city of Pittsburgh, hometown kids that want to stay close to home. So I think it was a great opportunity for their families and that, the sense of community to come together and be able to put a good, show out on Saturday. And obviously, the result wasn't what we wanted, but nonetheless, I think it was a very unique and an experience no one will, forget.
Pitt reported 53,000 people for the game, so that's good news, which means maybe this will happen again, because I don't think they were going to draw that, despite it being the opener for playing Wofford or New Hampshire or something. So I think that's a positive sign. Nick, similar question then to you.
Yeah, I think that was probably the highest, if not one of the highest attended opening games for Pitt. Even when they play Youngstown State, like another local school, it doesn't draw the same attention that it did for us this year. I'm hopeful that we can maybe do it again. I know Robert Morris played at WVU, so it seems like maybe Robert Morris and Duquesne might be able to switch back and forth between the two local teams to have a tough start to the season every year, or every couple of years.
Mhm.
And it's just a really cool experience as an alum to actually have a real tailgating experience. Um, I mean, Rooney's great for what it is. It's our hometown, or home field, and there's not really a great tailgating scene available there. But Acrisure, all those parking lots, I saw so many Duquesne tailgates going on, which was great to see.
Yeah, I was at a couple different tailgates. Most of us congregated in Gold Lot 1A. Rudy, obviously that's not a trip you were going to be able to make this year, but
I watched it on ACC network and I joined it a little late. I don't know, what I'm thinking, but 9 o'clock, obviously, right? So
yeah, your time, yeah.
yeah, so but yeah, I'd like to see, we got Isabella on the highlights for the start of the show. Him catching a pass last year from our quarterback. And yeah, so I'm glad that he burned them at least, I got no love lost for Pitt. I'm sorry, man. You know, you
Well,
guys are so buddy, with Pitt. And I know we should be grateful for them giving us the game and all that stuff, but yeah, it's just that the rivalry was so deep when we played them back in the '70s and stuff. And I mean, yeah, Sam Clancy. But anyway, that's basketball. Yeah.
well, Rudy, I mean, look, that's something that we all want. It's maybe that's the olive branch that leads into this, perhaps, right? I mean, I know. So I know all week on local radio leading up to the game, Duquesne journalism alum Mark Madden was all over Pitt for that, and he was saying things like you gotta play this game in basketball because look, Penn State won't play Pitt in football, and then Pitt won't
Right.
play Duquesne in basketball, and it's a bit of a I'm sorry, the word escapes me right now, but um,
Similar
know,
joke.
situation.
thank you.
A
Oh,
joke.
well,
That's
there's
what it
that.
is.
Yeah. No, it's hypocritical. It's hypocritical, right? So, I mean, we all want to see that basketball game. I never thought in my
But
wildest dreams that we would be playing them in football before we
I'd
play.
be anxious to ask him, Coach, what he thought of the overall game and his interpretation of what transpired and does the score mean anything to him? And and curious to see what his reactions are to what he saw.
Let's get into that, Coach Geisel. So, your run game coordinator, tight ends coach, so your fingerprints are all over the offense. You by the way have I think risen pretty quickly for someone your age in college football, to have that kind of responsibility already. You graduated Duquesne in 2020, and here you are. You were
Wow.
out as a student coach back in 2018 when they won an FCS playoffs game. So you've been around with this program a while, but you're in the thick of it when it comes to game planning and obviously analyzing film afterward. What was the takeaway, during film today with the team? And there are positives, of course. You would have hoped the game would have been closer. I know a lot of us saw the kicking game just was not there. Um, your thoughts?
Yeah, obviously going into that game on Saturday, we were trying to be very matchup specific, try to get the ball quick, find ways to get our playmakers the ball. I think from an offensive side of things, there are going to be some procedural type flaws and issues that are going to occur. That first game of the season. Obviously we've got to clean up some of the penalties, the pre-snap penalties, especially
Right.
delay
That
games,
killed
things of
us.
that nature. Yeah, those just those are drive killers, right? You're putting in yourself in second and
The
15
holes.
or first and 20, those are any of those penalties are going to decrease your chance to be successful in that drive. So I think there's some things we have to clean up moving forward here for obviously the next week, but the rest of the season. But losing Darius, that was going to be a big question mark, and I think we saw a lot of good things out of Tyler and his ability to kind of flip protections, get us in the right look, and then be able to escape and make a play out of the pocket, whether it be to throw a ball away or to hit Joey Isabella down the sideline for the one corner route. Offensive line, obviously they got a little bit more depth on their side of the ball from a defensive perspective. So just trying to stay in front of those guys. But overall, I think there's a lot of positives that we can take from this and learn from it. We do have a lot of new guys at those skill positions, quarterback and wide receiver. So it was good to see some of those guys get some action and see how they're able to operate within our offense. And then the main staple that's been here for quite some time, Joey Isabella, showed that he picked up where he left off last season, which
Yeah.
I don't have the stat in front of me, but I think it was 7 or 8 touchdowns, consecutive games with a touchdown. Obviously, he didn't score on Saturday, but I think he was
You
what
should
eight for 120
Yeah.
with a big
Yeah,
play.
he had
Obviously,
that
and that
59 yarder that set up the
yeah.
touchdown anyway.
So, it was good to see him obviously get the ball and make some plays. And, truth be told, that was, one of our main priorities of the week is to find ways to get number 5 the ball. And, I think our running backs, some questionable holes to kind of hit.
That
Wasn't very,
the first play from scrimmage, though, man, 17 yards, man.
Yeah,
yeah,
that
that
was
that was a great start. Yeah.
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
as a fan that got us believe in things that we probably shouldn't have believe in.
That's just how we
Uh,
drew it up. We wanted to come out, hot, but I think obviously there was some holes that were plugged throughout the day, but they were able to recoup as much yardage as they were able to get. And I think throughout the season it was good to see at least Taj break a couple and get back into action. He dealt with a little bit of a nagging injury last year, and then rookie of the year Sean Solomon, I think made some plays throughout the day. So we expect a little bit more to come from him this upcoming season, leading off of last year. So, I will give Coach Jacobs and our defense credit. I mean, at times, they had the interception, um, on that one drive when they got down and, Pitt got down in the red zone, and they gave us opportunities to get the ball back. So I'll give credit to him. he gave us some opportunities on offense to go make some plays and gave us the ball back. So that's all you can ask really in those type of games.
Coach Mickey Jacobs, defensive coordinator, he was also a former student of mine. So either you guys are rising really quick, or I've been there a while now. It's probably both. He's a little bit older than you are, but yeah, Coach
Yeah.
Jacobs, former, I think he was a linebacker, defensive endish when he was a player at Duquesne. Can you tell us a little quickly, Coach Geisel, before we get back to this particular game and then the rest of the season, how you got involved with Duquesne football? What is your football background, and where'd you come from? Because not everybody, we know Schmidt and we know Doria and we know Jacobs. The coordinators get those headlines. Coach Silanoff, the assistant head coach, but guys like yourself, we don't really know too much about. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. So hop on the turnpike and for about 3 hours till you get to the Harrisburg exit
Yeah.
in Central PA. So I know when you talk about Pottstown, I know where that's
Pottsville,
at.
Pottsville,
Pottsville,
Pottsville.
Pottsville. Excuse me, correction. But yeah, I'm from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Came out to Duquesne for my undergrad. I was a sports marketing major. When COVID hit in 2020, I decided to pursue my master's and got my MBA here at Duquesne. Moved into a GA role, but I started as a filmer my sophomore year in 2017.
Oh yeah.
Went from a filmer student assistant, worked my way up to I was really an offensive student assistant, really the signal guy. And then was a GA, worked with the receivers and offensive line for 2 seasons. And then in I believe it was the spring of 2022 when I graduated with my master's, I got, promoted to tight ends coach, and since then I've added the run game coordinator title, and now I take over from Luke Smith, the director of operations. So I've been heavily involved here at Duquesne for quite some time, and obviously it must be too good of a place to not leave because I've been here for quite a while. But I love the city of Pittsburgh, and I love obviously the school itself and the coaching staff and the community. Great surrounded with a great support system to be successful. Obviously you mentioned, I'm pretty young to have a lot of these different roles. So I give a lot of credit to those guys that have given me the opportunity to do the things that I do, but B, to help, give me a sense of direction and be able as successful as possible.
So Luke Smith is the bridge, I guess, between Rosado and yourself. Is that because that was his role for when I was there and for almost forever, was the director of football ops. And so Hunter, that has a lot to do with recruiting as well, does it not?
A little bit, yeah, more so of the logistics of trips, the buses and itineraries, and kids probably hate seeing my name pop up because I'm sending them so many messages throughout the day for bus lists, meals, you got to do this or that, meeting times. So they probably have my contacts saved as do not read or whatnot. Sometimes I could probably be a little bit annoying, but yeah.
Well, let's get back into this particular game, and then we'll get on to the rest of the season. I'm just looking at the individual stats. You mentioned the 8 catches for 120 yards from Isabella. He was clearly the star for Duquesne on Saturday. I think a lot of that was expected. He's very experienced, like a lot of college players now entering, in graduate years. But Isabella really balled out. The 59-yard catch, followed by a touchdown to his teammate B.J. Alexander on the 7-yard catch from new quarterback Tyler Riddell. Riddell was replaced by Kushner late in the game. Can you tell us, Coach, what went into that decision? Is a chance just to get Logan some reps? Was Tyler hurt, or was it performance based, or just due to the score?
No, I think it was obviously those two have been taking a majority of the 1 and 2 reps in fall camp, and I think as a staff we viewed that as an opportunity to get Logan some real game time experience. Given that he hasn't really, this is his second year here, and really hasn't had the opportunity to go showcase his abilities in a game. I do think both of them showed flashes at times. Like I said, earlier, I think there's some things we can improve upon, but I was impressed with his ability to come in and try to get involved. And I think he adds a little bit of a different element than Tyler, in a sense that he's a little bit more of that runner type athlete. So I wouldn't be surprised moving forward here if you see some more action for him potentially, run down situations, 3rd and short, 4th and short at the goal line to take advantage of his speed and playmaking ability.
Tyler's just going to be here for 1 year too, and with Logan being the local high school star that he was, around here we know him as the NA quarterback who was like all whippy everything. He I was the assumption then of course is that this guy's maybe the future, but with the transfer portal being the way it is, Coach, I mean, there's a competition every year at every position, isn't there?
Yeah, you just never know. Go back to our team last year. The one, big piece from our offensive stat sheet would be Jamario Clements. He's here 1 year and he leaves the next. So each year I think you're gonna have a little bit of that of come and go. But yeah, nothing is ever certain in college football. I mean, I think that's proven itself in the past couple of years with the way the nature of the business has gone. So yeah, you just never know what you're gonna get season to season. So just kind of roll with it and put a plan of action together and go from there.
I want to take a quick look at the team stats. I mean, they're pretty telling with what the score was. But again, not all bad. I think if you take away the field position part, it would have been a lot more of a lot more contested of a game, evenly with at the line of scrimmage. I mean, clearly, when you're playing FBS players in a deeply talented, scholarship-laden team like Pitt, who can offer more than we can, you're going to see areas like punt and kick return coverage have breakdowns. Where the depth of their team is going to be much better than ours. At least that's what Coach Schmidt had told reporters like Zach Weiss and everyone after the game, reading his stuff on the coverage of the game. And we saw that early on too, Coach, with that rear its ugly head when Duquesne elected to punt near midfield, right? And that punt was returned for a touchdown. Can you give us some insight into what goes on in those decisions? I mean, you're not the offensive coordinator. You're not the head coach, of course, but how do those decisions get made? Where does the run game coordinator come into things like that?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, Coach Schmidt has made our staff completely aware of is the ability to, hey, this is a 2 down, type situation. Because obviously that number one that affects play calling. Now you might be able to run the ball on 3rd down as opposed to, hey, we're gonna try to throw it to pick up the first. Um, so open line of communication with Coach Schmidt and obviously both sides of the ball. Yeah, Saturday, put ourselves in, some tough situations with the special teams. But like you kind of, pointed to and Coach Schmidt said after the game, those are the areas when you go play those big time schools that there's going to be a little bit of a drop off from an athletic perspective and, depth. We would love to have all 11, defensive starters or a mix of offensive guys or our best athletes out on the field at all times. But in some of those situations, it's just not, guys need a breather here or there, or hey, we gotta, you know, someone's got a sub for somebody. So, that can rear its head at times and prove to be a little bit of a disadvantage.
Nick or Rudy, do you have any particular questions about the city game before I ask Coach, moving on from there to look at the rest of the schedule?
Kind of just from the run game coordinator perspective, are you working with that obviously the running backs, but the offensive line and tight ends too? What kind of describe what kind of role that is in just the preparation standpoint for people like me who don't really understand the coaching staff as a whole?
Yeah, so I have my hands pretty much with with the offensive line and running backs, and obviously the tight ends play a big portion of our of both sides of that equation, pass and run game. So each week, we'll get together and kind of dell out a plan with Coach Doria on what we want to accomplish from a run game perspective, and then throughout the practice, a lot of times you'll see the tight ends and the running backs together frequently just to be able to, make sure that we're all on the same page from what we're trying to accomplish and what we're setting up for the week. And, I think a lot of that has to do with a schematics perspective of, hey, this is how we're seeing it as a staff. Now, hey, this is how we want you to go out and execute. So making sure we're all on the same page. Because I think at the end of the day, we can tell the kids so much, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be the one running the football. I got to go make sure Taj and Sean and, Cam and Gary and Michael Falla and Tommy Brandt can go actually execute what I'm trying to accomplish each and every week and what we're trying to do as a staff. So I think it's a lot of collaboration with those groups that get the job done. And I think, in the past couple of years that, I've been doing this, being the run game coordinator, I think we've built a pretty good relationship. Coach Still's probably my first phone call of the day every morning, just going over things and making sure we're all on the same page from a blocking perspective and what we're trying to accomplish that week with the run game. So.
Mike Sonoff, of course, the offensive line coach and assistant head coach who, along with Coach Schmidt, helped Westminster back in the day to a national championship at their level. They were college teammates and go back a long way. Rudy, anything particularly from this game that you wanted to ask Coach?
Well, let's talk about the touchdown and so give me some insight. What was that call? And whatever insight you could give me that you can't reveal. But what was that call? And when Isabella got by that safety, had you planned on doing that and scouted that or something?
Yeah, so I'll actually take you to the play we got the delay of game on because I know our tight ends were geared up for that one because that was supposed to we put Logan Kushner in there because it was a potential chance to pull the ball and get on the edge with him. But we had one of our tight ends running to the flat, so Danny Tarabrello was not too happy that one got called for a delay of game. But on that touchdown, throughout the week we had studied down there that when you get down inside the that goal line type area under about 6 yards, those corners sat heavy outside and gave the inside. So we wanted to give our big old man receiver BJ Alexander a chance to go make a play. So that one we had been pretty dialed in on all week that we were going to get this certain type of look, and if we got down into that certain yard marker, we were going to call that play. As soon as that penalty happened, Coach Dory and I both knew what we were calling next. We were calling it was an RPO. We were trying to run outside zone with a backside slant, and pretty much how we drew it up is that kid played, opened up and gave the inside, and BJ was able to go win on a slant, and Tyler, threw him a pretty good ball.
Yeah, he's a big target. I mean, he's a big 6'3", 195. Yeah. So
Yeah,
and the Isabella play. When he got by the safety.
Yeah, so that's something through film study all week we had noticed, their safeties were pretty down heavy. And throughout the week we, off of that same play, we kept running we called a bang route, so 5-step skinny, almost like a slant. And we were gonna pretty much run that throughout the game, and we knew if we run that so many times, they're gonna get keyed in on jumping that. And we got to a point in the field where both Coach Dory and myself noticed that those safeties were driving that bang route. So we said, okay, let's find a way to get number 5 the ball. And we thought that was a great opportunity. And given where we were at on the field and the situation to take a shot, and throughout the week we had called it off a run to potentially hand it, but throughout the game, once we got to that moment, we felt pretty confident that we were going to get the look and the result that we wanted. So we pass pro'd it up, max protected, and Joey was able to take a, quick 1-2 head inside, snapped his head, and got that kid to bite and took it over the top. And Tyler delivered a perfect ball. I thought he was going to score at the end. I thought he was going to be able to slip underneath that guy and get in the end zone. I think if you asked him, he probably thought so too. But nonetheless, executed really, really well.
Coach, leaving this game, the Dukes are going to go back home to the smallest Division I stadium in the country, right? To Rooney Field. It's quite a leap from Acrisure, an NFL-sized stadium and 53,000 people, to going to Rooney Field and now playing not just an FBS or an FCS team. We're playing a Division II team in Lincoln, PA next week. So September 6th is the home opener for Duquesne at noon. Obviously, a non-conference game. Can you tell us the goals for the Lincoln game? The goals for the Pitt game, you have to be a bit tempered. Of course, you want to go out there and compete. You want to make sure you're healthy for the season. And it's one of those games that can help you grow your program with the revenue you can gain from that and the exposure you can gain from that. Now you're back home, and this is kind of like the inverse, where Lincoln's coming to a Division I game and they're playing up. So how do you get your team and your coaching staff and everybody, on board for this and try to keep the hype and keep the energy going for what could be a come down playing at home against a D2 team?
Yeah, I think I'll use the line that Coach Schmidt frequently uses in his team meetings each and every week. Each every week we play a faceless opponent. Doesn't matter who's on the opposite sideline. We got to be able to prepare and execute what we're being asked to do and control what we can control. Personally, I think we got to take an inward, looking approach this week and clean up some of the mistakes that we had week one. Because as any football coach will tell you, if that continues throughout the season, you're just putting yourself at a disadvantage. So, obviously clean up some of the pre-snap penalties, but from an offensive side of the ball, we obviously want to see some growth from pretty much every position, and just be able to kind of take some shots when he needed to, but by more so biased towards myself. I want to see us be able to run the ball a little bit more effectively and see those backs be able to make some guys miss and internally being able to mesh up a little bit more on our combos and climb to the second level. So I think just kind of putting it all together and being prepared to go out there and play a full 60 minutes of football.
The Dukes stay in Pittsburgh for September 13th, the following Saturday against Lehigh. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Lehigh, I think, is into the FCS top 25, unless they're just right outside. That's a big game. And when I was playing ball at Duquesne, that would be a game that we would consider sort of a step up to play an FCS contender, outside of the mid-major classification that we were at. Now, we would win those games a lot of the time, too, against the Lafayettes and the VMIs and the Holy Cross. That would be a big win for us. Now Duquesne's, hosting a team like that in Lehigh before then going to another FBS opponent on the road at Akron. And then, of course, the New Haven game, which is an NEC opponent that doesn't count as a conference game just yet. And then you see the NEC schedule starting October 4th. Can you just, I know we have to let you go eventually, Coach, you can get ready for Lincoln and get back to work. But just as the season progresses through the non-conference schedule, can you give us your goals leaving non-conference and then your big, hairy, audacious goals for the whole season as a team?
Yeah, I think our immediate goals are, play efficient and effective football, be able to move the sticks, execute when we get into situations, within the red zone. Obviously, we want to put points on the board. But I think a lot of it has to stem from cohesion standpoint. I think in the next couple of weeks, we just got to start to put the pieces a little bit together, more frequently. We do have a new face at quarterback, a couple new pieces at receiver. So to be able to see those guys gel together and kind of bring it all together to have success moving forward here in the next couple weeks, I think is the key. And then down the road, obviously, when you get into NEC play, Coach Schmidt will say it all the time. Everyone's going to give us their best shot. So we got to be prepared each and every week to go out on that field and give it our all. But more importantly, we got to be, staying ahead of the chains, moving the football, making the right plays, playing fast, physical, and smart, and just giving ourselves the best chance to win each and every Saturday.
Guys, you have anything else for Coach before we let him go and then sort of recap the rest of what's going on in Duke's land?
I just want to say thank you for your time, and you answer the questions very coach-like. Mike Tomlin press conferences sound very similar to the answers you've given today.
He's prepping himself to be a head coach someday, man. You never know. It could be a Dukes coach. You may down the line.
Yeah, this
All right,
this
dude.
is good practice. Coach, thanks for joining us. You can go ahead and log off, and we'll see you at Rooney. Good luck the rest of the way. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate you guys having me on. Look
All
forward
right,
to seeing
man.
some games.
Thank
All
you.
right. Go Dukes.
Go
Go
Dukes.
Dukes.
All right, so that was Coach Hunter Geisel. I barely remember him from class, unfortunately, guys. I had him during the COVID semester. Well, it was kind of like a year and a half really dealing with COVID. So, a lot of guys I didn't get to develop the close relationships I could have. He was a sports marketing major, which is how he ended up in my class because the sports marketing majors have to take media and sports, it's called, and then sports media practices, along with my sports info majors. So he wasn't one of those. He was in sports marketing, but I think maybe his plans all along were to get into coaching and get into the game he loves. He didn't play football at Duquesne, so as far as I know, he didn't play any college football. Sort of the Todd Haley route maybe on his way into coaching. Nothing wrong with that. I imagine he must have played in high school or somewhere along the way, which I don't even think Coach Haley did. But yeah, Hunter seems to know his stuff. There's some very smart guys in that room who have given him these responsibilities, and they're good football guys, right? Lifers. So best of luck to Coach Geisel and the Dukes the rest of the season. I want to turn our attention, guys, to a few other things on the docket in Duquesne sports land. Women's soccer. This is a really great stat I want to throw out at you guys. Maya Matesa. Oops, sorry. Was gonna share something with you. I want to make sure I bring up the right screen so you're not just seeing my email. So this was about 5 days ago. Maya Matesa, who's I hope I'm saying her name correctly, and if not, I'll correct this on the next show. But Maya is was at least 5 days ago leading the nation in five really impressive offensive categories. So in all of Division One soccer for NCAA, she was leading in points per game. She was 4.67 points per game, 3 game winning goals. She had 2.33 goals per game, right? So she was just lighting it up for the Dukes in their young season. Total points, total goals. Goals are obviously worth 2 points, right? So that's how that math works out. But yeah, the women's soccer program got off to a hot start, and you can see no one hotter than Maya with her 7 goals in the first 3 matches of the season. Now the Dukes did finally cool off 3-0 against big power, Big 12 school in WVU. So they're now 3-1 are the Dukes. But they had won, the first 2 games, 2 out of the first 3 on the road. At Kent State, which is, in that area of the country too, soccer's, a
Really
big deal.
big. Yeah.
And the Dukes won that game 3-2. I think they scored 2 penalty kicks to get that win. And then against St. Francis at home, took care of business. And then on the 24th at Mercyhurst, 6-0, just beating up on them. But going to West Virginia and losing 3-0 is nothing to be terribly ashamed of. I'm really curious and interested about this team. The Maya Matesa stats are out of this world. She slipped under my radar. That's my fault. I was
Yeah.
not,
Well, yeah, you and me both, and I'm supposed to be big into soccer.
as
Uh,
the what's the expression goes, like I was not familiar with your game, right? That's the meme. I did not expect this out of Maya Matesta. She is a senior forward. She's from Lebanon, Ohio. I think this is someone to watch for. It's
Big
certainly,
girl. Now she's 5'10". I
yeah,
mean,
that's good
for a
size.
forward, that's impressive.
Don't let Coach Burt see that. Yeah, yeah. Usually you see a player 5'10" playing goalie,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, really impressive. Nick, I don't know if you have any thoughts on women's soccer so far. I mean, clearly we don't know yet until the conference schedule starts, but they are dealing with a new coach, in that program, and to get off to a start like this with a new coaching staff is really encouraging. Um, oh, I was hoping to. There it is, right there. This coach Jessica Geiges, I think is how we pronounced it last year. We talked a little bit about when coach joined the team. Um, she had a lot of success in prior jobs did coach. So I think it's very encouraging, and I would encourage everyone to get down to Rooney Field to check out the team. Guys, any other thoughts on soccer? I know we don't get to see it as much as we do football and basketball, but floor's open.
Yeah, you took my thunder. I'd looked up those stats on Maya as well. So that was my prep for it. But it is encouraging to see the was it now 3-1-0 start for the team.
3 wins, 1
Um,
loss. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they shape up in A10 play. I know they kind of refer it as 2 separate seasons almost, where it's the non-conference schedule and then the conference schedule. And conference play is definitely going to determine whether they are going to make the NCAA bid for postseason play, just because that's how the A10 typically works. So I mean it's definitely encouraging. We'll see how they stack up once they get to A10 play. Hopefully we're a top 4 or 5 team and can be competing for that NCAA bid.
The other one of the other fall spectator sports on campus, of course, is men's soccer, and the Duquesne men have had 2 home games so far, and they're 1-0-1 in those matches. Seton Hill was the opener. Dukes won that 3-0, and then in a county game against Robert Morris, the Dukes tied the Colonials 2-2, and then went on the road up to Buffalo to play Canisius and won that 3-0. So a good start for the men's soccer program as well. Syracuse will probably be a much tougher test. That's coming up next September 5th. They're going to go up to Central New York and face the Orange. The Dukes men's program, I was more familiar with than I was the women's program. I just happened to get to more games last year for the men. But yeah, I think this is, positive sign. But I'm heavily encouraged by the women's program because of the new coaching staff and a chance to start new there. They haven't had as much success in recent seasons as the men have had, which is part of the reason why I think I've been a little bit biased toward paying more attention to the men's team. But I love having successful soccer programs on campus.
Dude, I wanted to ask you, I spent 22 years in Southwest Florida, Fort Myers to be exact. And the head coach for the men's soccer team is from Fort Myers. Grew up I think may have been born in Fort Myers, Florida. I'd like to get him or who's the head coach? Is there a woman?
No, Coach Chase Brooks. He's been the head coach for quite a while now.
No. I mean
to get Coach
women's.
Geiges,
It's the women's. Is the women's a woman head coach?
Yeah.
Coach Jessica Geiges,
Yeah, this guy. See, if Fort Myers, Florida, man, I feel like emailing him, and getting him on in the next coming weeks. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I would love to start talking to these soccer coaches throughout the fall. We didn't start really this show last season until it was closer to basketball time, and that was sort of the focus coming off the A10 championship. But I would love to spend more time talking about the footballs and soccers and the other Olympic sports on campus. So Coach Brooks, we'll reach out to him, and we'll also reach out to Coach Geiges, whose name I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. Sorry to that.
Did you guys get the jersey that the swim coach sent us?
I got my swim T-shirt.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
It's nice. It came.
They're nice, man.
Yeah.
I should have worn it. I was thinking about wearing it, but it was red and all red.
Oh, your shirt was red. Mine was like
blue
red.
shirt.
I got a red one.
All the colors.
I got a blue one.
I got a gray one.
Well, shout out to Coach Sheets, one of the coaches who's been on here now. Now we've had a football coach. Eventually we'll get Dan Bird on here. We'll have a good time, or maybe Jerry Schmidt. Now that we're getting more and more coaches to come on and talk to.
So let's get to the basketball, guys. I got some stuff written down here.
Oh, good to know. You know what? Let me close the book real quick on a couple other fall sports. Just want to give a shout out to women's volleyball.
Right.
Also, women's volleyball had a sweep at YSU Invitational over in Youngstown. So as you can see, they didn't lose a single set. So that's also really great. I know we talked last year, guys, last season on our first season of the show about how this could be a chance for volleyball in Pittsburgh to be, a big deal, considering the success that Pitt was having, right? You can also just be a part of that, and because it's right down the road, and it's a popular sport, it's a spectator sport. We have that arena where Duquesne had a game at PPG Paints, which was pretty cool, a match there. And I think you can build on that. So starting out 3-0 without losing a single set is really cool. So kudos to Coach Opperman and women's volleyball. Men's and women's cross country started their season at the Father Bede Invitational at St. Francis. The women won. The men finished second, and the women were led by the overall winner, Gina Bola. So shout out to the women's cross country team, Coach Gibson, and the men's cross country team as well, and especially the senior Gina Bola for being first overall among the ladies in that race and helping the Duquesne women to a first place finish. Okay, so we want to finish by turning our attention to men's and women's basketball. That's what we like to talk about the most, frankly. I think all of us, those are our favorite sports at Duquesne to watch. Rudy, give me some of that basketball intel that you got on that notepad.
Okay, so dude, I haven't been on in 2 weeks, man.
Oh yeah, you've been.
So I'm really frustrated, Yeah. And so, Terrence, he's gonna be the key, dude. He is the key. Okay, Terrence Ginyard, 6'2", UT Martin, 16 points a game, 3 years left. Okay, and I'm telling you, man, he's gotta be the, if we're gonna have any success this season and have a winning season, he's a key. And then of course, our guy returning from last year, what's his name? I'm having a brain fart here.
Michael?
No, DeMichael. Wow, gosh, we're gonna expect something. Nothing from last year with him with the injuries, and he got redshirted, obviously, right?
Yeah, the
And
expectation is that Jake's, going to be ready for the season. I know he's still dealing with that leg.
wow.
Yeah, he's still
Okay.
dealing with the leg, but he's having treatment done, and that's the optimistic outlook is that
And
he's going to play this year, that means a lot for this team, I think, is getting a healthy DeMichael out there.
yeah, and of course, uh, uh, you know, Nexus is going to be key this year, and of course our guy Crawford, man. I was watching the video that they sent me, and major shout out to Apreya, man, because sent me, and I don't know what happened, but we got cut off, and and he ended up getting sick or whatever. But I want to make a major shout out that he got me that footage, man, and yeah,
Nick
and
Apria,
all the
yeah,
other and
from the
all the
athletics
other
department.
ones, he wasn't the lone shooter. There were many a female shooter that was really good. I can't remember her name now, but major shout out to her. And and so and of course the major transfer at center, man, is going to make a big difference. I've come to realize that Drew, like Dan Brock, is an inside out guy. Okay. He's into getting the ball into the bigs, man. Okay. And I see that this Terrence guy feeding him the ball and getting out of the way, man. He's got a big body,
Hughley.
Charles Barkley type ass, type butt just he puts his backside into you, man, and forget it. And Dixon, man, I'm telling you, I could see, man, the two of them playing together on the same floor at the same time.
Well, Dixon, he's 6'9", but his wingspan and his arms, it's like he's 7'1".
Right.
Look at
And
that size. Nick, I think you and I were talking about this. Look at all the guys they have over 6'10". I mean, how long has it been since we've had that much size, that much depth, that length? It's incredible.
Yeah, from a talent perspective and a depth perspective, I mean, this is an incredible roster. Terrence Ginyard's supposed to be able the big asset that he's going to bring that we didn't really have is a consistent driver to the basket,
yeah.
flashing in and creating that penetration that's going to open up the offense a lot more. That was kind of missing last year. That was a big missing piece since Jimmy Trey Clark left the program. That was a huge aspect that he brought to the game. So having that will be great for opening everything up. And for the love of everything, I hope we make more free throws this year.
Yeah. No, that was such a thorn last year. Yeah. Do you guys any thoughts, Nick? I mean, we've been talking. We haven't much news, honestly, for basketball. It's a wait and see period, so I don't know how much we have to talk about with the women's program right now. I will tell you that there is some news. Megan McConnell, of course, as she told us on here, is going to play in Australia. I think that's great. That she's going to, that shows that there's trust and faith that her injury's coming along. She signed officially. She told us maybe before she told anybody else, which was really cool. That she's playing professionally in Australia over the basketball season. That's traditional here. And then she'll be back in the States for the WNBA season, we hope. So future still very bright for Meg McConnell. Shout out to my guy. I sent you guys a picture. I ran into Brent Sutherland. He's the guy who sits courtside at almost every Duquesne women's basketball game. He's like our Jack Nicholson down there. Brent's the guy with like the fancy glasses, and he has a different Meg McConnell jersey at every game. Some people thought that was a family member, and she confirmed with us when she was on. No, he's just a fan. And I saw Brent in the tailgate before the football game or whatever and talked to him because he had a Meg McConnell jersey on. I said, "Hey, you got to be that guy." He goes, "Hey guys, I love the podcast." He goes, "That's great."
Oh,
He
great.
goes, I'm gonna text her though because I'm more than just a super fan." He goes, "I sat next to management during a Fever game. He bought tickets when she signed as a free agent, and then she got cut out of camp, but he went to the game anyway. And then he sat next to some higher ups on the team, and he told me he was going, Megan should be on the floor. She should be here. They finally had to tell him, like, all right, man. He goes, but you know what, Bob? A week later, she got re-signed back to the team. So he's like her biggest booster, man. So she might owe him a little bit more than just, he's not just some fan. This guy says he knows everybody. Yeah, he was cool to get to talk to. And I think he'll be a fun guy. We'll have to bring him on during basketball season because he loves hoops, especially Duquesne hoops. So wait and see period, obviously for basketball. We're gonna, whatever news emerges, we'll talk about it on here. At some point, we'll try to get Coach Burt on the show. Guys,
Yeah.
I don't have any other things going on right now to talk about except for make sure you're subscribing, right? So we want subscriptions and share the video. That'll do your part to help the show, and we'll keep putting our time and energy into it. I want to thank Sam Costanzo joining us on our most recent episode. Sam, the co-founder of Duquesne Club Football in the late 60s. He was smiling on Saturday despite the score. And Sam's book is officially available on Amazon. So I want to make sure everyone knows that. If you go to Amazon and you type in Renaissance, the rebirth and rise of Duquesne University football, you can find Sam's book. So, guys, I'm out of topics. I want to go to you for anything else sitting out there that maybe you want to touch on before we call it a show.
Yeah, just some final additions to things that were already talked about. Meg actually signed with the reigning champs too in the Australian Basketball League, the Bendigo Spirit. So pretty cool to see. She might have gone from a WNBA champion potentially with how great the Mercury are playing to the Australian champ. Um, and then from volleyball, I looked up uh, the two star players from the women's team are also young. The MVP of the tournament was a sophomore, and then the other all tournament team was a freshman. So another kind of good sign for the women's volleyball team is that if the young players are the core, then maybe we will continue to develop and have a great program to. I don't know if we'll challenge Pitt, but at least continue to grow and have a stronger base there.
Yeah, I think if this is a town that's going to embrace volleyball, there's another school right down the street, and I think that's the Atlantic 10 is not the ACC, so if we can get a corner on that talent, right, we can really compete in the A10. So I think that's a good sign. And that's awesome. It sounds like something that's happening already with that news, Nick. Rudy, since you're able to actually chat today, why don't you close us out with your final thoughts heading into the rest of football season and what we hope is a great 25-26 Duquesne Athletics campaign.
Well, like I said, I was tardy or couldn't make it the last two times. Technical issues, and here I'm the technical guy, right? And like, more power to me. I deserved it probably, but so I don't know, man. I'm just curious what your impressions of the first early days of school. Does it look big? Does it look busy? I mean, what's going on?
Yeah,
And
campus is great right now. This is a great time of year to be on campus. This is the perfect weather. Honestly, my favorite type of weather this time of year. I have to close my pool down. But with football on basically every day now for like until 2026, that's really cool if you love sports. We're gonna, the sports equinox is coming up where everybody plays, which is really great. It's in terms of the big four, no major North American sports leagues. It's a great time of year to be a sports fan. I wish I could gamble a little bit on sports, but because I have the NFL stats gig, I can't do that anymore,
yeah,
so which is kind of
yeah,
a bummer. But yeah, campus is great. And my students in the sports info major, we come to class, and the first thing I want to talk about every week is just the hot sports topics. So I couldn't be luckier to have this job, and I'm very proud to be a Duquesne football alumnus. With to see how far that program has come since I've been there. I can't imagine what it must be like to have gone through the days in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even, and with temporary seating and then finally permanent seating and then having this small stadium. And now we're playing in front of 53,000 fans. I think the most I ever played in front of was Penn at Penn in '03. I think they had 2025 for an opening day thing. Holy Cross in '04 flew us in and maybe had 25,000, something like that. But
wow,
yeah, and it was on
okay,
local TV in Boston, but nothing like this ACC network stuff and
yeah.
53,000 fans. Really
Abs-
cool. And hey, shout out to the parking people at Duquesne. Nick, it's never been easier to park, man. They did a good job. It's like after you've been there, of course. But if you go into the garage now, there's green and red lights You guys will see it if you come in for basketball. If you see a green light, there's parking available there. If it's red, you just keep going. It's all done via a lanyard system. Maybe after 5 o'clock, those won't mean anything because how else would they know if you don't have a pass? But anyway, yeah, so happy about those changes. I got 5 classes this fall. I'm still finishing up my doctoral work, so I'm just trying to survive, man. Looking forward to hoop season as always.
Yeah.
Very excited about the talent and depth on this team and the height. I think this could be a special season.
Yeah, and that's for
All
both
right, man. Well, I'm all for the hype, man. But like I said, the point guard, man. Point guard, point guard, point guard. All right, guys. Peace
Yeah.
out.
For Nick, for Rudy, I'm Bob Healy III. Thanks again for watching All Duke Sports Talk. We'll get back to you again in another week, hopefully, and we'll try to keep this thing rolling all school year. Remember to subscribe, like, share, comment. You got it. Till next time, shoo shoo rah rah. Let's go Dukes.
Let's go Dukes.
Go Dukes!